I'm Nat, he's Matt, we've got your geek news right here, and today we're talking about Prometheus.
So here we are, 30 years after Alien, and Prometheus is basically that space jockey movie that alien geeks like me have always wanted, but was it any good? I mean, we've got to look at it as a film in its own right, because supposedly it was nothing to do with Alien. It might share some DNA, but it's a bloody prequel, and we all know it now. So let's start with it as a film. Nat, what do you think? Visually compelling?
Yeah, I've got to say that first scene where you see the engineer and the beautiful picturesque falls that he's standing next to, yeah, it was a breathtaking shot. I thought the movie was candy for the eyes through and through.
Absolutely. The only problem I had with that was that I had seen almost every shot already, because that trailer gave away every visually compelling moment, every important story point, just about everything except for the horror flash bits. The trailer made me feel like watching the movie was just the extendamix that I had paid $15 and had funny glasses on for. I was very disappointed in that respect.
But with less intensity than the trailer, because the movie was not as intense, let me just say that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But it had all the expected alien tropes, right?
Exactly. I was just going to say it had, the disposable cast, it had the strong female survivor, and the mischievous robot up to no good.
The problem I have with this robot up to no good is I didn't understand from it whether he was up to no good because he just likes effing with humans, or if he was actually on orders from Weyland to just randomly cause horrible biohazards on the ship.
I agree.
I mean,
it was
Weyland
hard to
was
tell.
still there. Weyland was
yeah,
still
I know.
there.
It was really hard to tell. That's right. So, Fassbender did a great job, but you're right. He's wreaking havoc or causing mischief and harming humans, and you're kind of like, isn't one of the law of robotics that robots are not supposed to harm humans?
Right. There you go.
Well, no, seriously. So you're like, why is he doing this? How is he doing this? Law of robotics doesn't exist in this universe. And yeah, the motives are not clear, which is annoying because we're going to actually tie this to the original Alien with Ash and his mischief and what he does. The motives are very clear because in the movie towards the end, they kind of explain it to you that Mother/the company gave him a certain mission to bring this thing back, and humans are secondary.
Exactly,
Survivors
but in this
secondary.
case, we didn't get any clarification.
None at all.
David is just kind of being an asshole, and we can't really figure out why. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna flick this in your drink and just see what happens. Like, what a jerk.
Yeah, you have this beast growing inside you, but I'm not gonna do anything about it.
Yeah, didn't really dig it. Now,
Speaking
I
of the
really
female character, though.
I didn't dig any characters. Not a
really?
single
Okay,
one.
but Elizabeth Shaw, I mean, she was obviously the Sigourney Weaver of the movie.
Yep.
Initially, I mean, she was interesting, she was kind of annoying sometimes, but when that scene happens, that pivotal scene, the most intense scene in the movie, in my opinion, she becomes badass, I think.
Yeah, well, not nearly as badass as those abs that apparently heal up after just being stapled. Doesn't a C-section take weeks to heal up from? And she was bouncing off the walls.
It's the future. Come on,
yeah,
she's
exactly.
fine.
Magical self-sealing staples in the future. But
I agree with you. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, every character was kind of flat and boring, and I don't remember the names of really any of them. Not even the captain, who I did like. Idris Elba was wonderful, but I just didn't give two shits about anybody.
No, it's true.
Not Charlize Theron's character, barely Idris Elba's character. I didn't care about any of them. And Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce, why the hell did they cast a 40-year-old to play a 100-year-old man? Built into that casting is the expectation in the audience that we're going to see him grow younger or something. And it just never happened. So I know the TED Talk notwithstanding, there's never a point where we see him younger, and that just is distracting and unsatisfying to a viewer.
Right. And then speaking of randomness in the movie that has no explanation of why they did what they did, the geologist from Borgia, what the heck happens with him?
Yeah.
He's kind of this minor character. He disappears in the movie, and then later on he randomly reappears as this mutated, super powerful orangutan in a spacesuit that's killing humans. It makes no sense. And then it happens for one scene, and then it's never discussed or thought about again.
You know what? I feel like Ridley Scott realized there was this boring part of his movie, and he's like, let's put a zombie scene in here for no reason, because everybody likes a good zombie movie. That was just totally random. And by the end of this movie, instead of feeling inspired or awestrucken or anything like that, I was just unsatisfied. I had a bunch of questions, and I just wasn't a big fan of walking out of a movie feeling like that.
No, absolutely not. I mean, even if you had watched this movie alone, it had nothing to do with Alien, you had zero expectation going in, you're just like, okay, so who are the engineers? Why did they create humans? Why did they turn on them? What are they doing on this planet? Were they creating these genetic monsters as a weapon? How did it all happen? I mean, there's so many questions that are left unanswered, and heck, I mean, I guess if you look around on the internet, which we inevitably did, some of these questions are answered through, I don't know, interviews Ridley Scott did that. For one example, he sheds a bit of light as to who the engineers were and why they decided to turn towards the end of the movie against their creation. Let's just say it's a biblical explanation, but you can definitely look up the rest on that one.
But you know what? Regardless of what he says outside of the film, and people who are like, oh, but don't worry, there's going to be a sequel, it's going to be amazing, and that's going to answer all the questions. You know what, bud? A good movie needs to have a good ending. And, you know, Empire Strikes Back, even the second Matrix movie, I know, because it's the second in a trilogy, and there's momentum behind it, that, all right, the third one's going to be great, I can't wait to see how those are answered. But those films still exist in and of themselves. The cliffhanger business doesn't work when it's been 30 years since the last movie you did. And this is technically part 0 of a 5 or 7 or 10-part storyline, if you want to include Aliens and Predators. Like, this just does not fly for me. It just doesn't work. I can tell this has been shoehorned from an original idea into an Alien movie, and it just doesn't work for me. And, I mean, we really do need to now talk about it as a prequel. Because prequels have the built-in responsibility of, oh, we're going to tell a story now that fills in backstory, gives you really cool answers to unanswered questions, and because we know the outcome of a story, the trick with a prequel is making a story that still is interesting in and of itself. And so, let's start with some of the questions that have been answered. We've always wondered, is that elephant nose thing on the space jockey, is that a helmet, a suit, is that fossilized? What is that? Well, now we know, man in suit. We've also wondered, well, what the heck is that xenomorph? Why does it look a bit like a robot, a bit like an insect,
a man, a human, yeah.
What is it? Well, now we know it's a weapon of mass destruction, some kind of mutagen ooze, plus mealworms, plus humans, plus maybe robots, and it's Ninja Turtle 101, really. We know exactly how this thing happened now, which is interesting. Now,
which there are other theories about that as well, especially related to the black ooze, that goes more into the psychological aspects more so than the biological, but look it up online. There we go. Sorry, I'm digressing.
Yeah, I've read that one, and it's a bit of a stretch, but we'll see. Another question is, those space jockeys, were they attacked by surprise in Alien, or were they somehow related to the xenomorphs? And now we know they were a weapon of mass destruction made by them, despite the fact that that's a bit of retcon from what the original Alien production Bible said, but that's okay. That movie wasn't made, Alien was made. So based on Alien... Yeah. Based on Alien, I guess it's a good prequel to explain some things, but it left so many questions, so many questions.
Well, I don't know. I was just going to say, I think that if Prometheus was a standalone movie, it would have been just been stronger on its own. If it didn't have to be tied to Alien somehow, if it didn't have that pressure to somehow be related, which really by the end, again, if you had never seen any of the previous Aliens, but everyone knows what a xenomorph looks like in our pop culture. Like, I don't think there's anyone out there that doesn't know what an alien is from the Alien movie. And you see that at the very end of this movie, Prometheus, where you see the xenomorph pop out, or something that looks like the precursor to the xenomorph. Then you realize, oh, wow, look, it's really, truly tied to another story that's out there. But, I don't know. I think it would have been better as a standalone movie. I think if it had nothing to do with aliens. I mean, given all those questions would still be left unanswered. But... I think I would have enjoyed it more knowing that it wasn't tied to something else.
I mean, it did have some cool tie-ins right from the beginning, where the Prometheus comes up just like Alien came up. I mean, it had some really good.
The title, exactly. I like the opening scene of the ship, and then exactly the quick little explanation description. Like, both movies had that. I loved actually that in both movies you see them go towards a ringed planet, towards a moon, and land on it. I mean, I know Matt and I both have debated whether it's the same planet or not. To me, I think it's supposed to be made to look like it's the same planet. They're going to the same planet.
That's what bothered me. That's what bothered me so much. They're going to the same planet. They spent so much time making it seem like the same planet, but then when they crashed a crescent ship in virtually the same way as they did, as you see it in Alien and in Aliens, it somehow doesn't have the space jockey seated at the thing like we saw him in Alien. Instead of having an alien bursting out of his chest, we have the space jockey in a different ship with something that totally unseamed him from the navel to the throat. Like, this is not the same space jockey, which means this is not the same ship, which begs the question, is this even the same planet?
But it's too similar. It's too similar. That's my point. They go towards the moon of a ringed planet. They land there in the original Alien, and you see that crescent ship, or you see that ship, and they go in and they see a dude with an elephant mask seated at almost the same kind of, I guess, what is that? The driving console for the spaceship. I mean, it's too similar for it not to purposely be tied to it. Even though you're right, there are enough differences that make you go, is it supposed to be? Because that's sloppy. That is just sloppy continuation.
It's very sloppy. How bad are these pilots if they're crashing ships everywhere? Like, these space jockeys are terrible. I just don't understand how Ridley Scott either was about to draw this perfect line and at the end completely screwed it up. Because now we're stuck wondering, oh, where does she go next? Oh, I wonder if we're going to find out in the next one how this connects and that connects. Well, you know what? Unless there is some super awesome director's cut of this film just disappointed me in every possible way that a sci-fi geek born and raised in the 80s could be disappointed. And I am just... Ridley, I did not get what I was looking for. I did not get what I was sold. I can see why you didn't want this to come off as a straight-up sequel, or straight-up prequel, because it does not satisfy me as a prequel at all.
Wow. Wow. Your expectations were totally squashed.
My expectations were huge for this. Huge. I was more excited about this than anything else coming out this year. And we're talking about The Amazing Spider-Man this year. We're talking about some Batman movie this year. There's a lot of stuff happening this year to be excited about, and I was more excited about this than anything. So, yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming up.
And absolutely, we do. So, I mean, without further ado, I guess we can wrap up saying it was a pretty decent movie in some respects, a horrible adaptation in others, but more than anything, we would love to hear what you have to say about it. Obviously, our conversation is incomplete until we get what you guys have to say. So, let us know. Check it out. Join the conversation on our site, yourgeeknews.com. Because a lot of good stuff happens over there. And, yeah. Anything else to add, Matt?
I think that's everything. Now I'm just looking forward to Amazing Spider-Man. Because I think we're going to get the best Spider-Man movie we've ever seen. Which, honestly, isn't hard when you look at how crap some of the other ones have been in parts. But, hey...
and that Tobey Maguire's not the main person cast in that story.
And that Snaggletooth isn't playing the love interest. God, Les Kirsten Dunst is great.
I love it. Okay.
All right. Horrible. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And we're looking forward to your comments and to showing you a little bit about Spider-Man.
Absolutely. Bye.